Hey, you guys, welcome to this video all about setting boundaries. And I have to tell you, when it comes to setting boundaries, a lot of us in the beginning are just not very good at it. We're just excited to be able to get that next student, work with them, and we don't take the time to communicate those boundaries to our clients. And that leads into problems. And we don't create boundaries for ourselves with our work home life balance. So, my goal here is to help you obtain a healthy work life balance, be introduced to the different types of boundaries that you need to consider, like time boundaries, location boundaries, communication boundaries, payment boundaries, and boundaries around your tutoring service. And by setting these boundaries, you're going to be able to communicate your expectations to your ideal clients and ensure that both you guys are on the same page. So let's get started. So first, I want to talk about time boundaries. Okay, so we're going to be talking about each of the different boundaries that I laid out before, and time boundaries are really important. So when we think about time boundaries, I want you to think about your hours that you work. When you go to working in the classroom or you're working your office job, you have specific hours that you're expected to work. But oftentimes we don't set those hours for ourselves when we have our own business. And so that where we think we're going to have more freedom and flexibility, all of a sudden we're working like 72 hours a week, and that's not more freedom and more flexibility. Am I right? So you really want to set these time boundaries on yourself and say, okay, here are my work hours, and really get clear on what are you going to accomplish during those hours. So during this time, maybe I'm going to work on my marketing efforts. During this time, I'm going to be working with my students. During this time, I'm going to be catching up on email or those kinds of things, right? So you can lay on out what it is that you are looking to be able to create. And you also want to really dedicate time to your own personal life and do the things that you want to do. You want to have time to do the things that you want to do. And so letting the people know in your life what your work life, like what your work hours are, is going to be really important too. So I used to tell my daughter when I'd be done working, and I would love this because she would come down to my office and she would peek that little beautiful face of hers by my door and be like, all right, Mom, you're done working. She held me accountable, man. I loved it. And I was like, yep. And I would turn everything off and I would give all my attention to her. And I love that she did that. But we do have to do that. That's a beautiful reminder for me. But I think it's also beautiful, help other people understand that too, that your family wants to spend time with you. Yes, they need you to be able to make the money so you can do the things that you guys want to do. They also want to spend time with you, right? They care about being with you, and we need to make that a priority. So some different things that you can do are to communicate what your hours are. You could even put it onto your calendar and discuss, okay, here are the hours that I'm going to work. Here are the hours that I'm going to work on my marketing. Here are the hours I'm going to work with my students. And then here's the hours that I'm going to work with, catching up on maybe lesson planning or those kinds of things, right? And so when you come up with that, it really helps. Also getting really focused on what you're going to do when you're going to do it. Like you don't want to sit down and now you have to figure out what you're going to do for the day, right? So putting inside of, I use the 90X goal planner, and I set down the night before, what do I need to accomplish tomorrow? What helps me actually reach my goals? And that helps me. The next type of boundary are the location boundaries. So location boundaries are where is your workspace? I joke with people because when I get on calls and stuff and I'm in my living room, I tell people I'm having a work at home day because that's not my working space. So I have a dedicated space inside of my home that is meant just for working. But sometimes I've given myself a little leniency if I just don't feel like having a traditional work day, but I also can bring my computer wherever I want and work. But you want to have a dedicated space for the tutoring that you do, the work that you do, because this then kind of gives your business a little bit more boundary as well, that you're not working on your business everywhere throughout your house and all of that kind of stuff, where now it's just flowing into everything that it is that you do. Also, being able to set clear guidelines for where your tutoring is going to take place. So I like having the green screen behind me, which is how I kind of got set into working down in my basement, because it looked like a beautiful backdrop of a living room that makes me look a little bit more personable to the students that I'm working with because they're in their home too. But at the same time, I never had to worry about like what the state of my house looked like because I had 3 children. So being able to have this one dedicated space really helped me to focus in on tutoring my students and not focus on all the other things that a busy mom with 3 kids has to also focus on. Communication boundaries is the third one. And communication boundaries are really setting expectations on for other people on response time. So like how long is it going to take you to get back to an email that somebody writes you? How long is it going to take you to respond to a client that you have? What are the different ways that they can communicate with you? What is the best way that they could reach out to you? For me, if they need to tell me about something about a session that is today, they are way better off texting me that information on my phone than they are writing me a detailed like email that would go on into that. Because if I'm tutoring back to back to back, you don't have the ability to go into my email. I'm teaching, right? They need to give me information. This is kind of like their way that they can let me know and I can get that information immediately. It's important to let them know like what are the appropriate types of ways to communicate you, what should they be communicating with you about, and you can put this in your when you're onboarding them, like what they can expect, and that's going to really help them. So I put on there like, hey, if you, especially when it comes to like, I'm not going to give daily feedback on each session because I don't feel like anybody wants an email from me telling them exactly what I did every single session. So what would be the point of me writing all of that down? I know that some people, they're like, I think that that's what parents need. This is what we should do. And they do it and it works well for them. And that's fantastic. Me, I'm not going to remember to write down an email for every single one. And if that's part of their expectation, I will fall short. I will not be able to have that kind of high caliber touch with the 20 to 30 students that I end up working with, right? So at some point that's going to break and I won't be able to keep doing that. So I tell them I will do an assessment every 3 to 6 months, and then I will give them feedback. If they are ever wondering how their child is doing, they can always message me and email me and ask. And I'm more than happy to take a look at the information that I have and give them feedback on where we're at. Or if they ever have an IEP meeting and they need information about their child and where they're specifically at right now, I'm more than happy to supply that information for them. I feel like this, then if I do send them an email, gets seen. I remember when my kids were in school and I would get all of these homework emails every single day of what homework was due. And I'm sure that there were parents who wanted that information, but there were parents like me who I was able to trust my kids to do their homework, that I didn't need that information. And so I ended up with what they call email blindness, right? And anytime I saw an email come from that teacher, I never opened it because I thought it was just homework related and I didn't need to pay attention to that. So then they would get mad if they did need to communicate with me and I didn't respond because never opened it because I thought it was a homework thing, right? I feel like kids need to be like, I think parents need to sign up for those kinds of things versus just be added onto the list of we treat everybody exactly the same. Well, parents are like that too with our tutoring business. They don't necessarily want to know what you covered in every single session, right? And so this is just important information for you to know what is it that they want. And if I communicate with them right out of the gate that this is how I do it, that, I wouldn't be able to keep up with giving every single family individual feedback on their child because I've got a full caseload. However, if you ever need information about your child and how the tutoring is going, please message me and let me know, and I can provide that for you. I feel like that really helps put that expectation and that boundary in place so that they're not like, oh, well, their other tutor did that. Why does this tutor not do that, right? The next boundary is the payment boundary. So you want to be able to, with payment boundaries, set clear guidelines on what your payment methods are, right? When they know what your payment methods are and how they work, you don't have to chase your money down anymore. You might if you set up the wrong boundary, right? If you're like sending out individual invoices, you're going to have to chase down your money. And I know some people say, oh, I've never had to do that. I'm going to guarantee you that you just haven't worked with enough students yet. And that's why you've never dealt with that problem yet. There will be somebody who will either not pay you, ghost you on a payment, and then ghost you on services. We're talking about online tutoring here, guys, right now at this point in time, not in-person tutoring as I share this information with you because I am an online tutor business coach, okay? So It might be different when you get to see them in person. You can remind them, oh, you need to pay, but I still don't like reminding them that they need to pay, right? Or having those uncomfortable conversations. When I have those payments set on auto pay, and then I tell them why I have it set up this way, I have it in a set it and forget it system. So all you have to do is put your information in once, and then each month on the day that you had your first session, you'll automatically be charged. This is set it and forget it so that your services can all happen, seamlessly. We never have to, stop sessions because payment didn't get in, right? Being able to let them know that right out of the gate, they don't question it. They question it when you change it after you've been doing it a certain way. And now they're like, well, why are you changing it? Or, you got to explain all those reasons. But in the beginning, if you just say, I have made it super simple for you, it is all on auto payment. You just put your information in one, we're set to go. Parents love that ease of being able to work with you. And then also boundaries around your own tutoring services. I know in the beginning, we want to take every single client we can possibly get. And so that might mean I'm teaching writing, reading, math, calculus, SAT prep, and all of those kinds of things. But when you actually set limits on what it is that you tutor, you get better and better and better at what it is that you're tutoring. It becomes so easy for you that you can sit down at your computer, turn it on, work with the student, and you're done. You don't even have to really set up lesson plans or anything, right? And this is the kind of thing that I want to really help you guys set up inside of your business. If you're tutoring everything, there's a huge likelihood that you're having to do a lot more planning for your session and your time, right? And then we start thinking, oh, I should be charging the parents for this, right? But if I had a more systemized process, right, that's going to allow me to work with their child, then that parent doesn't have to really incur that cost, right? Because of all the time that I'm spending trying to plan for their lessons because I'm trying to tutor everything. So really establishing what level of support you're able to provide for them and be really clear on what you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do. So I let people know right out of the gate, I'm not a homework helper, right? I am going to take your child from this reading level to this reading level. So if you're looking for a homework helper, I'm not the tutor for you. So I think that's really important to really establish those boundaries. So, just a reminder of all the different boundaries. We got time boundaries so that we're working the appropriate hours for our business. We got the location boundaries. So we have our workspace all determined for us and we're not really taking our work all over the place. The communication boundaries with parents so they know how they could reach out to you. The payment boundaries so that you get paid on time every time. And then even what you're willing to tutor. Those are all the boundaries that you need to think about as you're setting up your tutoring business. If you like videos like this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe and that like button so that you can see more videos just like this. And if you have other ideas of a video that you'd like to see, in the comments, write that down below. And I'm curious as well, in the comments, write down below what type of boundaries have you set for your business, what is working for you so far, and what's not working. I love to be able to have a two-way communication with you guys and share those kinds of thoughts and ideas. Thanks for watching. On Thursday, tune on in again because we're going to be sharing all about the certain time boundaries that other tutors have experienced and how it's been able to help them in their tutoring business. So thanks for joining us and enjoy the rest of the day.